where I am. So it's very easy. I try to be everywhere a little bit to give inspiration, motivation, and letting people know not to give up hope and refill their cup. And, also part of my journey is I had a major car accident and I gave up hope. And I thought that was my difficult moment, but it became my brightest light. And of course, the tools that gave me my life back is wearable technology. So I'm passionate about sharing that as well. But the main goal for me every day is to give someone hope and let them know that they can do it. That no matter where you are in your journey, everything and anything is possible.
I think that's beautifully said. So let me ask you my first question. When it came to figuring out how to take care of yourself, what are some of the ways that you did that for you?
For me, so I stepped back, right? When I stepped back and realized that I am functioning on such an empty cup, that and I don't say no to people, that I want to help everyone, and in return I wasn't good for them or me. I realized that I need to kind of step back and refill my cup without feeling guilty. That was one of the biggest things that I had to learn how to take care of me. And even more so when I got sick, I couldn't do it. Like I couldn't do it, and that killed me. And I had to be gentle with my body, especially when I felt a little bit better. I wanted to do more, but I had to do even less because I needed my body to stay in that, you know, calmness.
So when you're like going through your own journey, it seemed like it was difficult for you to do some of the things that you would normally do for yourself. Would that be right?
Yes, absolutely. So I relied on others to take care of me, but through that process, because I know, self care and mental health comes together when you are not healthy and happy in a place where you can make those decisions, and when you are not able to take care of yourself and you're relying on someone else, so and your cup is so empty, like I have this conversation, like we kind of give up and we become like hermits. I don't know if that makes sense. You stop caring. Like, I gained weight. I didn't care about exercising. I didn't care what was going in my body, nutrition was, but all of those things affect our mental health and wellness, because what we put in, what we think, we receive. And I thought, I'm done, this is hell, I don't want to do this anymore, I can't think positive. And then it was an interesting journey, because that saying, until you walk in somebody's shoes, don't judge them or give advice. And that was kind of me, because I used to go, because I'm such a strong-minded person. Nothing stops me. Nothing. I can do everything, no matter what. And it was interesting how all of that switched, because I used to tell people, "Oh, you can do it. Stop being lazy," or "Oh, mind over matter." And then when it happened to me, that self-care was hard. The positive thinking was hard. The taking time for myself was hard.
I remember the first time where I realized I needed to take care of myself. I actually just took myself out to dinner. I said, I'm stressed. I'm just going to go to dinner alone. But that was difficult because I wasn't used to going to dinner alone. It's always me and a few other people. So what I did was I put on my fanciest pants, my fanciest shirt, my fanciest shoes, because I'm thinking everyone's going to be looking at me. As soon as I got to that restaurant, I sat down. I realized no one cares if I'm there or not, right? It's all in my head. Um, do you think that some people spend so much time in their own thoughts that it prevents them from taking the appropriate action to take care of themselves and not get caught up in what other people may think or may not think?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And it's an interesting story that you share. I went to therapy, and many years ago, I was very young, and my therapist said, if you have a partner, do you know what you say to that partner, what you want, how they should be taken care of, if you need space, if you need time to yourself? Have you thought about it? Have you dated yourself? And one of my assignment was taking care of myself by going out alone. She said, go take yourself to breakfast, take yourself for lunch, take yourself to the movies. She scared me with that thought process. But in a young age, I began learning how to take care of me, not relying on someone else's company or somebody else's words of wisdom, or, like the cheering. And then my father used to say, you do things because they're right things to do, not because somebody's watching or cheering you on. It was such a best advice because it's easy to take care of yourself when you have permission, right? And this is what I've been talking about for a few years. I give you permission to step away from your phone. I give you permission to step away from your chaos. Take a big breath, especially single mothers. That was me for such a long time. I felt so guilty leaving the baby at my mother, but I need an hour for myself, like to go do laundry. That was self-care, right? But highly recommend people to take themselves out. I do something nice for myself almost every Friday because it's a celebration of me. I celebrate myself from having a tough week, maybe, or maybe not so tough week, but especially when my week is tough, that's even more important to be kind to yourself. To give back to yourself. We pour to others, but we're the last and the least. And this is what I also talk about. Um, Especially on Fridays, like, when are you celebrating yourself? Like, you're looking at your list and there's nowhere, Paul, Mary, or John. There's always A, B, C, D, F, G. And then you look at this list at the end of the week and you go, I haven't accomplished anything, but you had 100,000 things on it and you've done 10 in very difficult situations, but you don't feel like you deserve to celebrate or praise yourself.
You mentioned single mothers, and I think that single parents struggle so much with giving them time to say that mom, dad, grandmother, grandfather, friend, neighbors, right? Can you just watch my child, or can you help me out because I just need an hour for me?
Yeah.
What do you think are some of the obstacles that prevents single parents from taking a moment to fill up their own cup and to love themselves in the world today?
Well, for me, because I was such a I'm coloring, business was for me it. Like, I probably should have never had children because that was my, like, I love my kids, but I'm very business orientated. I went full force at very young age. I had my child, but single mother, and I've always felt guilty because I already spent so much, for me, so much time at my salon, so much time building that business. Then I was like, well, I still need a little time for myself to just regroup, but I have a baby, and it would make me feel very guilty to bring her to a babysitter, knowing that I only saw her 3 hours that day. That's how it made me feel. I feel like I neglected her, and then leaving again to do something for myself, that made me feel like I was the worst mother in the world. And I worried about what a business that was my passion, that would make me happy and smile. But then I love my children. And if I need, just there was this unconditional, consistently this guilt. But then I had to realize, and I guess therapy helps, is that I'm working really hard now for a future because I have to provide. But in a few years, I can work less, and I will make it up, and I did. But I had to say to myself, don't be so hard on yourself. You're doing amazing. And the single mothers or parents, any watching this, please be gentle with yourself. You are providing the child roof, food, a bed. You're doing so much. So please, please take some time to yourself because you're not good for the child, right? Like, stress yourself out. The child feels it. Actually, I wish I did more of that, but I've learned now. But the youngest one will be 25 in a week.
I see a lot of parents struggling with that. I see a lot of parents struggling with the guilt of, well, if I take 2 hours out of this day, does that make me a bad parent because those 2 hours are not going through my child? I see some parents experience shame where they
Yeah.
think that maybe I'm not a good person because at this moment I'm thinking about myself and not my child or others. And then you start to realize, oh my goodness, I'm sacrificing parts of me for every single person, but who is sacrificing something for me? Do you see parents or people in general struggling with that where they begin to experience the shame and the guilt of their actions?
Yes, absolutely. But I will also learn through all of the shame that I had, like, um, leaving my child, right? Is that I actually was teaching my child from young age, the time alone to yourself, taking care of your mental and emotional needs, stepping away from everything is self-care for them, that they have to learn how to suit themselves, not always looking. I raised very independent children, especially girls. Like, I wanted to have them all these tools that they don't rely on other person. And I've always thought somebody can help you feel better, but nobody can fill that void. You have to learn how to pacify yourself. And when we start relying on others, we're in trouble. Codependency, right? Mental, physical, emotional abuse, both for men and women. So again, as I went through it, I learned, I read books, I went to therapy. I understood that I want my children to know they can take care of themselves. Yes, it's okay to rely on others, but we are responsible for our lives and be here. And you have to use your voice and ask for what you need. And I had to learn that through uh, my own hurt. Right? Does that make sense? I don't know if that's proper English. I get so excited I forget what language I'm speaking.
I mean, when you mentioned that you had to learn it, what are some of the ways that you learned to take a moment for yourself and why?
uh, Through pain, right? To hurting my own self, meaning feeling sad, getting myself depressed, bad talking to myself, right? And then I realized, no, I can't do that. I'm not a bad mother. I'm building a future. And again, therapy helped me tremendously, going through that. And start listening to meditation. I start getting a little bit more spiritually online. Going for walks. Like, I kind of did things, little things, implementing few little things, taking that cup of coffee or tea and sitting there 5 minutes with myself. That can do so much. And what I also have learned, quality over quantity. You can spend 5 hours with your child and it's meaningless. But I took my daughter to the park for 1 hour. That's the time I had, and pushed her on the swing. We had the best time, and we got home, and it was great, right?
I look back at my 20s and that was a difficult 10 years for me. And I look back, Irene, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it was 10 years of just chaos and badness. And I reached out to whomever was around me because sometimes we have we have all these people around us, and when things are good, things are really good. But then when things are bad, we look to our left, oh, there's no one there. We look to our right,
Hmm.
oh, there's no one there. And then we're like, oh, I am alone. And then when we begin to realize that we are alone, we start to feel alone. And when I felt alone is when I felt really, really low. And at this low point, what I wanted to do was I just wanted to feel good. So you and I talked about all these ways where we felt good, and I did them and I tried them. But then when I realized that every time I felt good and those same people came back around, I would feel not so good. What do you think happens to some people when they're trying to make sure they're taking care of themselves, but they're surrounded by people that are actually hurting them, and then maybe they don't even realize it?
So I've read this book, The Celestine Prophecy, and it talked about energy, and it gave you permission, kind of. That's my interpretation. It's to stay away from those people. Allow, if you feel that there's no support, cut the umbilical cord, move on. Like some energy matters, right? This energy vampire. And through my hairdressing business, I've learned that the hard way. And there were times that I needed that damn money, like you don't even understand. As a single mother, right? But I there was time that like they sat in my chair and they just drained me. And I would be exhausted afterwards. And that whatever, $50 meant nothing because that money from that person felt very heavy. So I have learned that I have to surround myself in positive energy as much as possible. And the more I surround myself in that energy, the more that energy will come. I cannot allow that negativity to enter. And the same thing as you talked about, when I got into my car accident, I had the most incredible community, I thought. I was the life of the party. I made great money, and people around me was taken care of. Okay. And the moment I got into that car accident, there was no one on the left of the right. The people said, I mean, you need a ride to the hospital, you need a ride to the doctors. Well, there for you. But when I picked up the phone, no one answered. And actually, a friend of mine said to me, I'm sorry, I cannot be around you when you're this depressed. And that really hurt me. And so I guess, and I went back to like the beginning of my journeys, and I realized that I am never alone. And those lessons, me going to that restaurant by myself, with the therapist said, go date yourself, go learn how to on yourself, go learn how to give yourself love and self-worth within yourself. You will never be alone. And at that moment, I was like, I rely on myself. I'm with me, myself, and I am the best company. Yes, you know, you right, yes, you want to have the support system, but something similar happened to me just recently. A dear friend of mine, and I never ask for help. It's really hard for me to ask for help, and I asked for help, and the help came with such her, like, you know they did it, but then come back and basically told me, well, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, you figure it out how to help and do. And at this moment I was going through a really difficult moment. There was a lot of stuff going on personally, and I just needed help. But you know something, I don't take it personally. What I've also learned, and if I'm talking too much, just let me know. I get so excited I can't stop. Is that people can only give you and support you at the place they have healed, right? They love themselves at a certain level. If they haven't healed themselves, maybe it's hard for them to ask for help. So I didn't take it personally, but I will never ask anything from that person again because they made me feel terrible. Like, why you bother me? Figure out yourself. It's not my problem, even though in the situation it is their problem, right? So did I get upset? Yes. Did it hurt me? Yes, because it came from a really close friend. It's not the first time, but I picked up myself by my shoe strap and I said, that's okay, I will figure out, because I know me, myself, and I are superpower, and you are too. So look, community is amazing, but if the community doesn't give you what you need, you just leave that place and you continue moving forward. What you seek, what you will find. We seeked those people before my car accident for a reason, right? They outlived my growth. They outlived the things that I needed. I moved on, and then I found other people that gave to me, poured into me, strangers that I never knew from Facebook. That, Irene, I got you. Irene, I'm here for you. So it's going to be okay. You're never alone. You are with yourself, but at the same time, show up authentically. I've decided that at that time I'm going to talk about that community failed, friendship was fake, that I didn't have that what I thought I had, and people just embraced me and came and helped me create that community. That today there's more people that I can call more than I just described. Right? I don't know if it all
Were
makes sense.
No, it does, because I experienced the same thing where I was surprised at the people who didn't support me, right? But then a beautiful thing happened. I began to get surprised at the people that did. And
Yes.
I was
Yes.
like, oh my God, Johnny is helping me. Teresa's helping me. right? And these are people maybe that I've known less than a year,
That's
whereas
right.
people that I've known 5, 10 years were like, to your point, I don't have the time to assist you, or
Yeah.
that's not really my problem. When you tell this story now, when you reflect on on this person, this relationship, were you surprised that they weren't showing up for you in the way that you needed them to be?
Um, some of the people from the past, surprise? Probably not. The problem with me is I see the red line, the red flags. But my problem is I am too loyal to my old information. I'm too loyal. I don't count the umbilical cord too fast. I give chances and I give chances. It's really hard to lose me as a friend. Like it's just who I am, right? It's just who I am. I always feel people deserve chances, but but through that, I've also learned that you know I will always help you, but I also have to take care of myself. I can only be there for so long. Not that it's tit for tat, right? Like you do something for me, and I'm not counting those points. But I think friendships, we give, we take, and if you always give, 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 I already have learned. I don't need that in my life. I don't need that in my life. I am here 100% for you. I'm not asking you to be here 100% for me, but 99. Right, like and it doesn't even have to be full, just checking on someone, right? Like, saying something like, are you okay? Like words, that action shows that you care. And this person like just basically said, well, I think when you're spaced, we're not going to speak anymore. Great. Like, I mean, I'm good. I mean, I'm self-reliant, I can handle it. But does it make me a little nervous asking for help for the next few months? Sure, because I don't want to be rejected again.
And that's the part that's painful, right? Like you said, I don't want to be rejected again. To be rejected, you have to be vulnerable, and to be vulnerable after being betrayed is such a hard step forward to take.
Yeah.
How did you bounce back from that situation and become the woman that's standing in front of me today?
Well, this just because I did a lot of training with Tony Robbins, and one thing that said in my mind that he said is nothing personal. It's nothing personal. It's something they have not healed with themselves, and they're reacting not towards you, but to their own pain that maybe somebody else rejecting them. And that made me, it's nothing personal. It's nothing to do with you. And it made sense to me, right? And all of these people, it's nothing personal. It's something they have not healed. They have not went through the things, and it made me like I dwelled on it for sure 48 hours, and then I said whatever. That's fine. Everything is figurable. I will figure it out. And sometimes when things like that happen, it pushes you to learn some new skills. It pushes you to look somewhere else. All of these things, it's not to hurt us, it's actually to grow us, right? To go move to a different direction, pivoting points. And I think God sometimes does these things to take away the things that we have not moved ourselves out of our way. I mean, I know I put it in such a weird way. I don't want to lose friends. Friends are really important to me, and relationship is really important to me. But sometimes we outgrow them and we hold on to them, and God gives us all these red lights, flags, and we're still kind of waving them instead of saying, "Okay, I see it." I don't see it until like my fingers go. And that's how I felt when this person said what they said to me. I felt like my whole hand was cut off, not just the finger. Like,
Do you then think sometimes we are shown those situations so we can understand that maybe the people that we're keeping around us should no longer be around us?
that's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. That like we hold on too long. You know how I said the energy, how you would get rid of it? Stop holding on to it. Doesn't serve you. We know it doesn't serve us, right? But we're still holding on because bad habits hard to change. right? We're so used to being somewhere and it's hard to move, even if it hurts us. And it has to hurt so much, you know, before you can move out of the way, right? And allow that to go. But again, for me, friendships is everything. So it's hard. I forgive too much. But I'm learning to kind of move on faster. Like love without attachment. That was one of the things that for the past 15 years I've been learning to love with I didn't understand that before. But I still don't understand that concept 100%. But to me it means like, okay, so somebody hurt you once, somebody hurt you twice, but three times that's your can I say bullshit? Okay, you're right. Like person shows you who they are, and you're still keeping them around. That's your fault. And I mean, it going full circle. Another thing about self love and mental health and allowing the craziness stay is that we allow the behavior. Like I think of an ex boyfriend, right? We give so much power to people. Like I know he wasn't good for me. I know he did all the things that terrible. Like he should never been around that long. I walked on eggshells just to make sure to keep him, but it's not his fault that my heart was broken and I was emotionally drained when he was not around. I was sad. He was like a drug. That wasn't his fault. And you know what a therapist said to me one time? He said, "When are you going to start taking care of yourself?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You are allowing this like she actually turned it into me." So I sat there and gave a list of things why I'm such a good girlfriend and he's such a bad person. And he doesn't appreciate and doesn't show value. He said, "You don't love yourself enough." This is what she said to me. "You don't love yourself. You don't have no self worth because you're allowed A, B, C, D, F, G." And he's going to take it because he knows he can do no wrong. The moment you start loving yourself and have self worth and say no more, he levels up, well, he will leave. Guess what he did? He left.
To
But
this day, I was going to say, Irina, when you share that, to this day, I'm still very surprised how many people don't realize what you did, which is that you have more power than maybe you'd give yourself credit for.
thank you for saying that. But I think most of us have that, except when it comes to relationship, that feeling of needing someone. The moment you decide that, like love without attachment, the more you decide that, yeah, you love that person, but you can also live without them if they don't treat you well. That's the break-in. That's where the umbilical cord cards. Then you're free to be, right? Because again, where we started with my children, right? That I felt guilty leaving them, but I taught them how to take care of themselves. So they don't have to end up in relationship that I was in terrible relationship, sad and depressed and felt empty and felt so bad about myself, like I wasn't good enough. I did everything, forgave so much crap that no human being should be, right? But I realized in that relationship that nobody can love me except me. Nobody can heal my empty heart, or I cannot heal his empty heart. We can only support it, but we cannot. I want to. I wanted to heal him with my love, but you have to accept love in order to be healed. He has to love himself in order to be able to take love from me. Makes sense? You know,
Do you then think that people ignore that part where they have to love themselves first before they can go out and get love from others?
sure, I agree. Absolutely. So the reason I have not been in a relationship, and we talked about it last time too, is that I had too much baggage. Remember, I said that I can't bring my baggage into the next relationship. And the problem is, most people bring so much baggage that it's not fair to the other partner. Eh, And if I find, God blesses me, somebody falls in front of me, it's it. Am I bringing baggage? Still, of course, but it's a minimum. It's what it is, carry on, not, you know, $300-400 extra you have to pay for the baggage to put it underneath the plane, right? It's a different kind of bag. Am I going to have triggers in the new relationship? Probably for a minute until I feel like I'm trust that person, right? Well, that PTSD comes from lying, cheating, blah blah blah. I'm sure we're humans, right? We basically the next relationship with a stranger. But you know what I've learned? I will ask that man, how do you feel about therapy? Have you gone to therapy? Do you where are you emotionally? Are you emotionally available? And are you open to not just giving up, but going to work on our problems? So those things I will ask because I don't have time. I don't want to. I want to support you, but I don't want to heal you anymore. Go, you need to figure out love for yourself, and then you can love me, right? Like you can't love someone else until you love yourself and see the worth of yourself, mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, all of it. You have to be somewhat put together here. I'm not asking for 100%, but you have to start the journey, and I can support you in it. But I don't want to lead you anymore. I'm a Mother Teresa. Every person that picked up friends, girls, girlfriends, boyfriend, like, I was always like, oh, let me give you a book. Let me give you a book. Yeah, here's a book too. But I'm saying, like, sometimes I say I want somebody to lead me. Like, I don't mind leading, but like, I want somebody that we're leading together. Make sense?
It does, because there's some people that I will speak to, and because many of us, for example, many of us work, many of us have been to school, many of us have done some type of event, sports, whatever the case is, right? But from our job to our school to other things, we all did what? Received some training. When it comes to our relationships now, hopes and dreams. We all think we're just born perfect when it comes to our relationships, but yet we have attachment style issues, we have core wounds, we have emotional abuse, we have emotional unavailability, we have all these things. But so many of us are so arrogant in our ways that we think that we're perfection when we get into these relationships, until we get into the relationship and we're like, oh, the toilet seat being up bothers me, the sponge in the sink not dry triggers me. And we don't take the time to understand ourselves and to heal ourselves. Why do you think so many people are walking around with this baggage and they just refuse to acknowledge it and or do something about it?
They they want other people to heal them, right? That's been my experience. They want other people to heal them, and when the other person cannot do it because that person is not available, they can blame the partner, saying, well, it's a bad partner, the partner doesn't listen, right? So when you don't take responsibility, like at, at, at certain points, I feel like you need to take responsibility for your own trauma. Like people, yes, blame the parents, blame the boyfriend, the ex. Yes, yes, they had something to do with it. But as an adult, you can sit there in the victim mentality. And I'm not trying, like, it's a hard thing to say because this kid's been abused and there's so much mental and physical and emotional. I'm talking about in general. Like, I don't want to come in there. I'm not sensitive. People have been through a lot. And in my hairdressing chair, I heard it all. But I think at certain point, we can either sit in that hurt or we can let go of it and go seek therapy and go seek help and go pick up that uh, book. And I always talk about um, when we're angry, we don't forgive the person that hurt us. The only person that's hurting is us. The moment you say, I forgive you, but I don't forget anything, I let go of what you've done to me. I'm going to take, for my own personal self, I had to take responsibility for allowing that behavior because it's two people in relationship. One does and one takes. My life changed, right? And he told me, he was very honest. So it's an example, right? He said, I can only love you this way. Take it or leave it. Right? We know when that person comes into our lives, right?
What
This
do you
time.
think is what do you think is preventing people from forgiving themselves so they can move on from their trauma?
Because they have to take responsibility for what they allowed in their lives. And I'm just basic, right? Basic. I mean, there's certain things, you know, deep, dark stuff that if you know, especially when you're a child, you couldn't help yourself. But I'm talking about grown adults allowing certain behaviors. They have to, they allowed it. I allowed it because I love this person so much that I'd rather be 5 minutes with him than 5 hours without him, and then I allowed the abuse, the cheating, the lying, the whatever, right? So again, I can only speak for myself, but I had to forgive myself for allowing that behavior, and the only way I could do that is through therapy. And there's some other people in my life that I had to do the same thing, say I'm done taking this, right? I'm done. You can't speak to me that way. You want respect, then you have to give respect, but nobody can heal you. So if people find, so I always hear, oh, if I only in love, things would be better. No, no. It's a feeling and emotion, but you're still broken if you're waiting for that love from someone else. And it's actually also a lot of pressure for that person to be able to love your brokenness. And I tell people, lean into that pain and brokenness, heal it. The only way to the other side is to go through that pain. But people have to take responsibility for it, right? Again, talking general. A lot of them like, take me out. We're blaming the, I'm just saying general, general. I started reading really inspirational books. I started reading books where people gone through horrible things, and I'm thinking, how are you so nice and how are you so kind? I'm sorry, my little puppy.
Well, I see people struggle with that because responsibility and accountability is difficult, but it's a choice. So what I like to say is that the trauma you went through, for the most part, wasn't your choice. Someone did something to you or something happened to you. That's not your choice.
Yeah.
What you decide on how you're going to live your life after that is your choice.
Yes.
And one of the things that happens with a lot of people is that their trauma impacts them and they use it in a way to sometimes justify some of the behaviors that they have, right? So, for
Yeah.
example, I'm in a relationship, the person cheats. Well, it's better than me being alone. But the question you should ask yourself is why do you think, or believe that your value is so low that you're going to allow this type of behavior? Because we all know better, right? Another thing could be that you're making a decision where you've been impacted and now you're hurting other people. So, in other words, you're bleeding on other people that haven't cut you. You're hurting other people that haven't damaged you. In a way that's unfair, because if you were to reverse that and ask that person, you see the way you're treating that person? Would you want that done to you? What would they say, Irene? They'll say no. They'll say that, oh no, I don't want anyone to mistreat me. Then why do what you're doing to other people when you wouldn't want it done to yourself? And I think that is what I would call like the trauma trap, where I'm trapped in my trauma to the point where now I'm doing things that I wouldn't normally do, but I'm hurting and I need that help. Why do you, what do you think in general can be done to maybe help those see that their behaviors aren't giving them the type of life that they want?
Well, hurt people, right? And when you're ready to stop hurting, that's the only way people see it, right? This is what I'm saying. I have a friend. She always complains about how miserable her life is, how this and this have happened. This is why she's not successful. This is why. And I said, you are 40 years old. And I've known you for 6 years. It's the same also. What are steps are you taking to change your environment, to change your mind? Have you read a book? Have you gone seek therapy? Have you gotten, you have to lean into that, right? Yes, somebody did this and this and this to you, but the pattern is the same. You have to break the pattern. Do you understand why is all of that happening? Broke people hurt people. And she's hurt people. She's hurting herself. So in return, she's hurting someone else. So people, like, again, that's why I have not been in a relationship. It goes back to that. I knew that I would not be a good partner. I was resentful. I was in pain. I hated men. I felt like they're all the same. And I'm going to be very honest because I have not had good luck. Everybody promised something and it turned everything became something different. But I also learned that I picked men that I could save. I picked men that I could love them pain away. I thought I would heal them. I didn't pick partners. I I I mean, it sounds terrible. I picked victims. And it's not in a bad way because I saw the pain. I saw that boy inside of that man crying, and I wanted to be the savior of them. And in return, my little girl inside of me was used to that. The way they treated me remind me of somebody very close to me. All the love that I gave them was not good enough, or it came conditional. So until we love ourselves and we heal that little child in us, to me personally, there's no relationship. I'm not saying the child has to be completely healed, but now I look what I'm looking for my relationship is different. I see that red flag from 5 miles away. That's why I'm still single. And I'd rather be by myself than with the wrong partner. But my partner has to add to me, not take away from me. And it's good. I mean, I mean, I can still meet someone and spend 25 years with them, still very long time. But I'm saying I've never been in a rush, but I'm definitely not in a rush. Even friendship, just friendships, right? I'm not in a rush. I'm looking for that woman and that man as a friendship basis the same way. Have you healed yourself? Have you let go of pain? Have you leaned into it? What lessons you have learned?
Could
It's
that
okay to come
mean
first, right? It's okay to come first.
absolutely? And I wish more people would put themselves first from a healing aspect. That I'm not ready to be in social circles. Let me make sure that I'm not impacting other people. Could it be then maybe sometimes what we do is we find people who are more quote unquote broken than us, so it distracts from us being able to acknowledge what's going on and what's broken in our own lives.
Would be, I mean, I believe that we attract who we are. People say the reflection of your partner is you. So there's something you see in them. I saw a person, if I look at I mean, my four partners, they were very similar ways they talked to me or treated me as a person very close to in my family, right? So that's what I knew. That was the pattern. And I had to break the pattern saying, I don't want conditional love. I don't want my love to come with conditions, right? I want a partnership. I don't want to save you. I don't want to heal your broken wounds. I want to support you. But it's your own responsibility to figure out how to let go the pain that somebody else caused you. I had nothing to do with it. I have nothing to do with it. So, there's no wrong or right way, right? It's whatever. I'm sorry. It's whatever um, works for you. We're all very different, and my what I can take, somebody cannot, right, or vice versa. I'm able to see, acknowledge. Like I had to learn and accept that the truth hurts, but I want to hear it. Because the only way we can change and make things better is when we can hear, well, those words you said to me, Irene, hurt my feelings. Well, let me try to figure. Today that happened. Like today, exactly that situation happened. Had a conversation. Somebody posted a post. It's absolutely offended me in every way. And she's like, I didn't mean it that way. Well, tell me how you meant it. And then she came back to me, right? And we had another conversation. Did we see eye to eye? No, but I said, thank you for coming back and having a little bit deeper conversation because what you said to me really hurt my feelings, right? Communication is the key. I loved that she came back and I respect that, even though we're completely on opposite sides of the subject, but I appreciated that, right? So it's again, in the past, it probably didn't bother, but I want to give grades because people don't know what I know. You grow up in certain circles, you only know that. And I used my voice before I would shut up and yeah, don't start trouble, but like I couldn't. Like it was so deep cut of a BS that I was like, I'm sorry. This is ridiculous. How do you say those things?
How were you able to find the courage to put yourself first in your life?
It's a funny story. I said it this morning. So I had two husbands, and one of them was very much self love, like didn't care what's happening around the house on fire, bills are not paid. He would go and do what he needs to do for himself, and I sacrificed everything for the family. He went and bought some underwear, and they were $30, and we didn't have that $30, and I was so angry because a week prior to it, I went to 99-cent store and I bought underwear because I was worried that we needed ABCD, right? And I realized that I put myself last on that list. His husband, family, children, blah, blah. He put himself first on the list and didn't care what was at the bottom. And when I left him, I learned that self love through this person as well. Is that I went straight to this beautiful store that I completely adored, only window shopped. And I bought myself a beautiful bra and underwear. It was almost $200. And I walked out of the store and I felt so worthy of it. And this is how self love was born, right? That he showed me that he put himself first. I have to do the same thing for myself. And it was such a, I could literally cry because it felt so awkward to spend that kind of money on myself, even though I made that money. And through that I've learned what you give yourself, that's what your partner will give. I, in front of the partner or in that relationship, said, oh, I'm so low maintenance, I don't need anything, I'll take what you give me, like the scrap, what I mean? Like I showed him that I don't care about nice things, I don't care. One, my love language is spending time, holding hands, not things. So I taught him that those things don't matter. Make sense? And now I want that. I mean, I don't need what $200 unders, but you know what I'm saying? Like self worth in a different way. And you didn't think about it. Like, don't think about it. Like now, I treat myself all the time. I take myself to dinner, go buy myself nice glass of wine. I go to a happy hour. I once in a while I go and sit down and have that $7 latte that we charge in Los Angeles. I was like, why not? I deserve it. I work for it. It makes me feel good. That's my reward. I travel. People say, well, how can you afford it? I deserve it. That's always been my thing to do. Like traveling makes me super, super happy. So I make it happen, right? It's my reward. It's my self-worth. I deserve it.
Nothing makes someone feel better than some sexy underwear, right?
I feel very sexy. That's like my thing. I love beautiful lingerie stuff, like, and so yeah, that was like I always remember that. It's like, wow. I still like, in the late this woman, we were talking about that, and she said, when did you find yourself worth love? And I was like, when I bought the $200 freaking bra, and I just it's like, what do you mean? And I gave her the story, and it was just, yeah, it's true. Like we have to feel like we deserve it, and then the partner will find that gives us to us. Right? I'm not materialistic things at all. But what I'm saying to you, this person had lots of self love. He felt he deserved those things, even though family should have came first before that. So
When it comes
looking for
to
a partner that understands you understand value, right?
when it comes to self-care, what role do you think self-value and self-worth plays in our ability to take care of ourselves?
1,000%. When we love ourselves, we're not guilty of taking time for ourselves. When we don't love ourselves or see the word of stepping away and taking ourselves for a walk, spa, whatever, the dinner, whatever, you can't do it because you don't feel you deserve it. And we have to feel we deserve it. And it all comes from within ourselves. Like you have to love yourself. And it's such a weird thing. How do you love yourself? But you do, you feel, you know, when that feeling is like, you know, you look on top of the world. I love myself. I believe in myself. You know, I adore myself. Like, it's a feeling. It's hard to explain. Like, how do you get to it? It's just you do by letting go the pain that caused you not to love yourself, right? And it's forgiveness for a lot. Like when I forgave myself for allowing that bad behaviors, and even I'm going to even be honest with you, in a certain way, I had to forgive my mother. I had to forgive myself for allowing my mother to treat me a certain way as an adult, right? It doesn't matter. And the moment I said no more, you can't talk to me like that. I'm 40 years old. I'm not 12 years old. I found self love for myself. Right, but it took a long time to find that voice because I was taught to respect my parents, no matter what, right? But I go back to that book, The Celestine Prophecy. It talks about also talking to your children like you're equal, not you're below you, respecting them, and they will respect you. Right? It was that was such a big moment. Like, what do you mean? You talk to your children like you're equal? Like, yes. And there was one little phrase, the episode, whatever, not episode, the little pad. This woman was talking to the family, and there was a child, and they were talking to the father or mother, I can't remember, and they say, "What is the name of the child?" And then the monitor says, "No, you ask the child what his name. It's right there in front of you. You're ignoring the child that you're talking in front of." It was like, whoa. I thought it was so beautiful, and I could never ask a parent now their names. Even like little babies, I look at the baby and I say, "What's your name?" And the mother, of course, responds 6 months. Cannot do that, but equal respect. And my father also told us, we grew up, my father used to say, "You treat a janitor the same way as you treat a doctor. There's no difference. They're all human."
Let me ask you, Irene, one last question as we close today. I want to give you three wishes, and these are things that you can wish that people knew about this question. So, what are three things you wish people knew about the importance of self care in their romantic relationships and why?
When you love yourself, your partner will love you even more. When you know your self-worth, you're so important that you will pick a partner that sees the same worth in you, and you will be loved. And I know you will give love back because you have it for yourself, and then you will turn to others. Sometimes we pick well, I did pick partner as empty as me, right? So it's so important that you have healed yourself to a certain degree, and you have that self-love, self-worth, and I want you not to pick the wrong partner. And you don't really know, but I'm saying you will know the energy when that person stands with, because that's the energy will vibrate. You will have a better chance of success